And welcome to the Barrel Buddies. I'm James.
I'm Zach.
And we have a special guest with us tonight. And not only do we have a special guest, but we have a special off-the-wall, random, just shout out to our friends. You know that we're like in the community, and we have Chris Conrad with us tonight. Welcome to the show.
The Yard of War.
Mr. Conrad. And he is here with the Las Vegas Action
Jackson.
Fantasy Football Yard of War. Here for the Fantasy Football update. Yow. I love that. I love that. Yow. Yow.
Right. The Yard of War.
Okay. All right. So while some people start flowing in here, can you, Chris, go over what Yard of War is and kind of describe Top Feed Coco, bud, you missed the last show, bro. You're gonna have to go back and watch it, man. But welcome to the Fantasy Football update. This is not a bourbon show or barrel-aged libations show, but thanks for joining. So Chris,
but we are
drinking. We're drinking some epic mead.
Oh, create your own mead.
Bourbon barrel-aged mead. Craft your perfect mead.
Barrel Buddies without drinking something.
Heck yeah.
So why don't you jump into Yard of War and the Las Vegas Action? Tell us like what it is. I need to know what it is. Right?
So Yard of War is the first professional fantasy football league.
Okay.
You heard it right, professional fantasy football league. You can think of it like a Twitch TV style for fantasy football.
Okay.
What we do is on Patreon, you can come on, become a fan. With your fandom, you get to
TFC.
vote on start flex positions. Your league, your team managers and stuff can offer up votes on trades. We're also doing current voting for what our trophy will be called. There's a lot of different interactions. You can also ask your favorite team's manager, start sits for your individual leagues, draft strategies. You know, we really want to interact with all the fan bases and
Let me jump right in, though. I'm a Joe Schmo off the streets. I want to get involved with fantasy football, but I'm not super familiar with it, and this is like me to a T. So I'm not super familiar with it. So like I can go and you run a team, correct?
Correct. We run the Las Vegas Action.
You run the Las Vegas Action. And then I can participate. How do I participate? Where do I have to go?
The easiest way to do it is to go ahead and go to Twitter.
Okay.
And search up Yard of War on Twitter.
Yard of War,
yes,
YARD. Okay.
Correct. That is the league homepage.
Okay.
There you'll be able to select from the 14 teams and find your favorite team. Hopefully it's the Las Vegas Action. If not, I'm happy that you're supporting anyone there.
Okay. And then is there like a buy-in? Do I have to throw a couple bucks at you?
So from there you'll be kind of pushed out to Patreon. Patreon is
so you subscribe.
so
okay.
You can be a subscriber. It's anywhere from like a $2 to $6 a month kind of subscription. But that's going to allow you to fully interact with your team manager, with your team, with your fans. You'll be able to ask questions, do different things.
What if I'm like, I need you to play Frank Gore? Like,
actually,
I need the best running back in the league.
I was thinking the same thing. So does the team manager go with like the consensus of the fans, or does
we will go with the consensus of the fans on the single votes that we will put up individual votes mostly for your flex positions. It is a super flex league.
Okay.
So we will have 2 QBs for most teams. The Las Vegas Action is fortunate enough to have several starting QBs.
Very good. Let me get to the chat really quick. Top Feed Coco, thanks for hanging out. We appreciate you. You're one of the best. X-Ray's back, so welcome back. He's here for some just here for some fantasy football content.
All right.
So and let me just kind of go over. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my background. So from a fantasy football perspective, I've been in kind of some casual leagues for probably about 10 years. I would say that, and I won my league for the first 3 years. But
is that where the pot's like $50?
Yeah, it was very like old school. Like I was kind of playing fantasy when the Yahoo app was like the only app, and it was very antiquated, and we didn't have a lot of crazy stuff like you guys have now.
I
I've been kind of out of the
Yahoo
game for a
app.
while.
So it's really actually
I know.
evolved.
So I'm Mr. Old School Fantasy. Zach, I think, is kind of in the same boat.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I've always done fantasy.
So hearing about Yard of War and like the Las Vegas action, like this is so cool and innovative. And like, here's the thing: from a Joe, I don't know too much, but I still kind of want to be involved in fantasy football. This is an experience where, hey, I can go to Yard of War's Patreon. I can sign up for a couple bucks. I can find a team that I really want to like, oh, I love this team's lineup. I love this coach's methodology. Chris here is like, has got the team, whatever, and I like his team, whatever. So I'm like, I'm going to follow this guy. I want to participate in the decision-making week to week. Who's going to start in what position? Who's going to do what? And I like the ability to do that without having the full commitment, if you guys know what I mean, from a fantasy perspective. Because I'm going to be honest with you, it's too stressful for me personally to manage my team on a daily basis. And oh, Joe Schmo just went to training and frickin' broke his knee or something, and then I got to run into my app and try to get somebody off the waiver wires. We all been there, done that.
The waiver wire is always awful.
I want nothing to do with that. I want to be able to just follow somebody that's going to do it for me. And if I can pay somebody to do it for me, why not?
That's right.
So Chris, go into a little bit more detail. Like, tell us a little bit more about, like, can you tell us about your team? Who's on your team?
So this is a Dynasty League, which is also, if you're the casual fan that is just tuning in, Dynasty is going to be you keep your entire team till they retire or till you trade them. You're going to trade draft picks. You essentially, as a manager, you are a GM. Okay,
cool.
It makes it a year-round experience.
Right.
It's not only during the season. We just recently had our startup drafts. Las Vegas Action selected 101, as you guys know, because you guys made my number one pick and the best
quarterback
player in fantasy football.
There it is.
Josh Allen.
So tell me, because here's the thing. In traditional fantasy, you really wouldn't pick a quarterback your first pick, right? So what's the thinking behind that? So in Superflex, which is the new hotness, it's the new everyday kind of league because it. And what is that? What's Superflex? In Superflex, your second. One of your flex positions can also include a quarterback, so you essentially want to start two quarterbacks every week because it's a
dude. That's big point.
Well, that's the thing, right? I guess if you have that second spot open, if you have a second flex spot open, and you can put a quarterback in, you're going
hell yeah,
to.
I would,
because you can only imagine. Think if they go off and throw a couple, they throw for 400 yards in a game, and you're just like, yeah.
And what's going to score more points, your second quarterback or your fifth running back or wide receiver? Exactly. Or some third string running back that you could barely get off the waiver wires or bench warmer. So it does bring more high scoring in with the bigger leagues, a 14, 12, 14, 16 team league. It brings another challenge in to make sure that you get that one. Those extra quarterbacks for bye weeks. Got it. Okay, cool. That's really cool, man. Las Vegas Action, like I said, we do have several. So on the Patreon for Yard of War, so say I'm not too into like Las Vegas Action. Are there other teams I could participate with? Yep. Like I said, we're 14 teams. 14 teamer. Okay. So we have the LA Hustle. Okay. We have the Phoenix Bulls. We have the Carolina Air. Okay. We have the Gotham City Legends.
Oh, we're nationwide. Where's Gotham City?
Nationwide.
Gotham City?
City is known as New York.
New York City, right? AKA.
So you have the Boston Bears.
Okay.
You have the Bay Area Panthers.
Okay.
Rare.
All right.
So, I mean, we really do stretch.
There's a lot of variety.
The Minnesota Ice.
Dude,
trying
nationwide.
not to leave anybody out. The Carolina, cool. I mean the Cleveland Canines.
It's great. Off the dog pound. The dog pound.
Yeah,
that's right.
Hell yeah.
Love it.
My first week opponent, the New Orleans Kings, they're going down.
So when do things really start ramping up? So is it really like you guys follow the NFL season? So first season, it's gung ho, and there you go. Yep, it's going to follow it. The most interactions are going to be during the NFL season. Texas Smoke, you forgot about.
Oh yeah, Texas Smoke.
What about the Detroit Cougars?
Is somebody typing those into the chat? Is that where you're getting that from?
I'll get that from the chat.
The Texas Smoke is my arch rivals.
Oh, a nemesis, the arch rivals. No, we got some made-up names here.
We
so
do
TFC.
have some made-up names.
All right.
So
okay, so there's plenty of you can go into Patreon, Yard of War, and if there's a team that I'm not even going to say this. If there's a group of players that are on a team that you really want to follow and you're excited about for this coming fantasy season, throw a couple bucks at them and help make a decision on how they play every week, right?
Right.
Okay. There you go. That's it in a nutshell.
Just like if you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys,
if
you're a fan of the New Orleans Saints, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah. So
you get to win with them.
Perfect. So can you talk about that? So what happens? Say we kick ass, right? Say we're undefeated. We kick it. We knock it out of the park with the playoffs, and say we're ready to go to the Super Bowl. What's the return? Is there a couple bucks I'll get back, or
no? So
some swag, or
we do, depending on your team manager, how many fans you have and whatnot. The team manager will throw swag back as we're going to
parties,
do tonight.
Maybe in-person parties.
Hey, if you're in Las Vegas and you're a Las Vegas Action fan and we win championship,
I
will be hosting a party.
Look at this,
fans.
guys.
Let's do it.
Right. You heard it here.
Action party.
We
will
host a action
Las
party.
Vegas action party.
If I have enough people that want to go.
And listen, you guys, for our fans, any Barrel Buddies that are watching, you know that the Barrel Buddies are going to show up, which means we're going to bring a bunch of stupid, ridiculous bourbon to a Las Vegas action. Especially if it's a celebratory, if we're celebrating a playoff win.
And that's not an if, that's a win.
That's a win. Top Feed says we'll have strippers. We got to keep that kind of on the DL.
No strippers. Wait, what? Oh.
What?
Oh,
we probably will.
That's the surprise. Yeah.
We got to keep that on the down low. But anyways, they're just guests of mine. They're guests of mine.
What, the strippers?
They might their night job may be women of the night, but they're my personal guests, so they can come hang out.
Correct.
So
That's their moonlight.
anyway,
we are.
Listen, Princess is a good friend of mine. I don't know. I don't think that's a real name, but anyway.
What about I'm not
anyway, so Las Vegas action, Yard of War.
Yard of War.
This is really cool because here's again, like I said, I can't keep echoing this and reiterating this.
Dude,
it's
fantasy football on
it's kind of like fantasy on a different level with really out the commitment. I can make a few suggestions of positions that I feel that I have a lot of knowledge in. I can be like, hey, do not play Gronkowski this week, and I'm just don't play Gronk. Go play
Travis Kelce.
Obviously.
Hello.
So a little background into all this. So, Yard of War has been kind of being put together since 2019.
All right, a couple years under the belt.
This is not a league that you can just throw together in a week and just say, "Oh, we're just going to grab 14 people off the street."
All right.
Most of us have played in some way, shape, or form together over the past 3 years. In several different leagues. We've won in different leagues. Texas Smoke is one of my arch rivals.
Here's what I'm going to tell you because hold on, I'm going to completely change topic, and I don't mean to put you on the spot.
All right.
But that's your audience right there, not me.
That's true.
So keep going.
Well, I'm trying to watch the chat over here.
I'll communicate the chat.
So Texas Smoke. They
Texas
beat me
Smoke
and won one championship last year.
Okay,
because Najee Harris decided not to down the ball.
Okay, War Clan, welcome, bud. Welcome, War Clan.
And he took over Big Ben Roethlisberger's spotlight, his retirement spotlight, by not downing the ball, running for a 60-yard touchdown, and beating me by 2 points in a championship.
Wow.
So here's
Unexpected.
the thing. So let's talk brass tacks, all right? We got some people here. Without giving away too much info, can you maybe throw a few sleepers out there and maybe say, hey, keep an eye out on so and so, or
I mean, let's
maybe
hear from the chat. What kind of position are you looking at? What do you want to know?
Yeah, anybody in the chat for fantasy?
Did, respond to me on Twitter.
Is there some dark horses out there? Are there some strategies that we can maybe talk about? Because I don't want to talk about just obviously we all know like amazing players, right? Like I'm sure you could put together the perfect fantasy team of like, Joe Flacco and like, no, I'm kidding.
Johnny Manziel
and
he's
Tebow,
coming back from the XFL.
Tim Tebow. No, like you could see how far back our knowledge goes. But no, like, it was some kind of crushing news today with the Deshaun Watson decision, right? I'm sure some people drafted him
most of the season
and are struggling right now. Like, what do they do?
A lot of people draft him expecting a year-long suspension.
Right.
So they're happy with only an 11-game suspension.
So they get a couple games.
They'll get a couple games this year. They also got better draft value by getting him in the second, third, fourth round of a super flex versus getting him in a first round as a top 7 pick overall.
Well,
they have to wait for it.
The dynasty leagues, you'll be able to keep him.
Correct. Right.
The following years, even though he's being suspended this year.
Right.
Sure, but so having a super flex, does that change your drafting order decision?
Absolutely.
Really? So what do you really need to prioritize then? Is it QB?
I mean, mostly you're going to prioritize QB. Although it really depends on your draft position. Your draft position is going to tell you where you're going to draft. How the draft flows is going to tell you whether you're drafting for this year. With Dynasty, it's different than your redraft leagues. With Dynasty, you're going to be drafting knowing that you're going to have the same team for several years. And you may not be competitive year one. You may not be looking to be competitive for 2 or 3 years. You may be looking to you may be doing a Jacksonville Jaguars or, this year doing a Houston Texans and looking to draft the number 1 overall player next year to help your squad next year or the year after.
That's fair.
Than being competitive this year.
And that's a really good point, right? Because with Dynasty, you kind of have to think about that. You have to think about the future, and you can't just think about your current season. You have to think about longevity. Exactly, Zach.
So I do want to reach out to X-Ray, though. Like I said, he reached out on Twitter and asked in a question.
He put a sleeper pick in the chat. He said Dameon Pierce is a really good sleeper pick.
He is not too much of a sleeper anymore, but yes, he was.
And who does he play for? What's his position?
He's a running back for the Houston Texans.
Oh, okay.
He's going to take over that starting position. The same kind of 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, you could have said the same thing about George Pickens. He's a rookie wide receiver for Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's kind of taking it by storm out there.
Okay.
So we are nearing the season. There's less sleepers now.
Okay.
One good sleeper's Jacoby Myers. He's going to be he's a wide receiver for the Patriots. He's always overlooked. But he is Mac Jones' number 1 target.
So what can I throw a team at you and you tell me a player who you think might be really good on that team?
Let's go.
So by default, because I have many friends, let me backtrack. Quick story. I'm originally from Ohio. I am not a Cleveland Browns fan. I'm not a Cleveland fan. I just feel as if Ohio is really lackluster with teams.
Off camera,
so
James
thankfully,
is like brownies.
Many of my friends are Green Bay Packers fans. I know some of you may not like that. Some of you may love that. Green Bay Packers. Are there anybody on Green Bay Packers that's not Aaron Rodgers that might keep an eye on?
Another sleeper that's not so much a sleeper anymore is University of Nevada, Reno's own Romeo Doubs, wide receiver.
Oh, Romeo Doubs, wide receiver. And you can get some points with those wide receivers. It just takes one catch.
He's impressing. Aaron Rodgers last week said he was the best wide receiver he's ever worked with at this age.
Bold statement.
However, yesterday he also said he needs to, run some more consistent routes. So, you're going to get that.
You never know. Here's the thing. Give him a few games, and then you might have some sleeper that game 4, game 5, him and Aaron Rodgers get this chemistry, and he just starts throwing bombs to him.
Right. And they got – who are they going to throw to? Aaron Lazard? Alan Lazard? Sorry.
No, they're not. Yeah,
right,
they're not. Exactly. So,
I mean,
all right.
People would like to do the A-Rod to A-Rod. They do have A-Rod as a wide receiver as well. So Amari Rodgers is up there.
War Clan is in Houston. So, great, man. So I don't know if you're a Texans fan, though, and if you're from there. I live in Nevada, but I'm not from here, and I'm not well, we don't have a professional. We have Raiders.
Yeah, get the Raiders.
They don't.
Which
don't get me
A little inside knowledge from Las Vegas
They're always
is
gonna be from Oakland.
fade Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs.
He is not a Patriot style back, which with Josh McDaniels here. Fade Josh Jacobs this year.
Are there any Raiders
At current draft value.
any solid sleeper Raiders picks? Or
Sleepers,
really?
not so much because they're stacked with talent. Maybe the in the skill positions, in the fantasy positions, the Raiders are pretty stacked now with Devontae Adams, with
We'll
Darren
see.
Waller, with
Waller's fantastic.
Derek Carr is going a lot higher this year than he has in the past few years because of his receiving targets.
All right.
But again, let me get X-Ray. I'm not forgetting about you. I keep trying to get to you. I know you had a question that said basically when should you start looking at drafting a kicker or a defense? So
Good question. Because usually, traditional fantasy leagues, your kicker and defense usually come last.
correct,
Always.
and
They're
they're
like
going to be
way
last.
at the
However,
end.
you don't want them to be your last pick. So here's the deal: with a defense, I would suggest drafting first. The difference between a top 2 or 3 defense and the number 5 defense is an average of 3 points a week. The difference between a top 2 or 3 defense and the number 10 defense of a week is about 5 points a week. So when you're talking about that, you're talking about drafting them in people may say you're reaching at round 12, 13.
Yeah.
But at 12, 13, you're drafting, if you're in a 10-team league, round 12 is picks 111 to 120. So that means in a single quarterback league, you got 12 quarterbacks off the board around there. You got about 40 running backs and about 60 wide receivers. So are you taking the number 61 wide receiver, or are you going to take the number 1 defense? The difference between the 61 wide receiver and the 71 wide receiver is about 1 point a week.
Yeah.
The difference between the number 1 and the number 10 defense is 5 points a week. So you're
Yeah,
gaining
it
4
adds
points
up.
of value
Exactly.
right there.
So think about that when it comes to your decision-making process during your draft.
Kicking is a little less
Is
volatile.
is my boy Young Ho still out there?
He is.
Yeah, my boy.
I remember Young Ho.
Young Ho
Come on,
is out
Young
there.
Ho, my boy.
So, but the difference overall in average kicking is about maybe 1 point a week. So if you're going
Hold
to
on,
stream
Zach.
anybody, it would be kicker.
Okay, Zach, what was your kicker? Was it you had that really old
It was
kicker?
the Polish cannon.
Oh, the
Janikowski.
Polish
Yeah,
cannon.
it was Jankowski.
No, you had
Ghost House.
Adam Vinatieri, I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
who's like the ancient
I always
ghost of kicking.
I always had the oldest kickers, but they always came through. I mean, it was amazing. But I remember Janikowski. I had him a couple of years.
This year there are 3 big name kickers, and
Kicker
one of them's been
sleepers.
around forever. Justin Tucker. He's
Oh,
been around. It
JT.
seems like forever, but he's
yeah.
up there.
Who's he with
He
nowadays?
is with the Ravens.
Ravens. Okay.
Then you have Carlson over here in Oakland.
Okay.
Is a very good kicker. He actually finished number 1 overall, I believe, last year.
Wow. Okay.
And then you have the Bengals kicker, McFarland.
I don't know who that is. All right.
He's the guy that kicked in the Super Bowl last year.
Correct.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, that's really it, guys. I mean, that was some really good updates. Chris, thanks for coming on the show, man.
problem.
We appreciate the updates from the Las Vegas action. So here's the thing, folks. Like, football's just starting. So I think we will have, outside of Barrel Buddies, we're going to be doing some Las Vegas action updates, some Yard of War updates with how they're doing, how are the games going, how are the players doing,
What is it,
injuries,
week
injuries
one?
we know
Week
are
1
crazy.
is in like 2 weeks.
Week 1
Week one
starts
is the second week of September.
Yeah, September 8th.
Yeah.
September 8th, yeah.
So
we're
right
in
around
it.
the corner.
Yeah. Get on that
X-Ray
Patreon.
said in his draft he ended up grabbing McPherson and the Saints and Patriots defense. Well done.
All
right, right on.
You can't go wrong with the Patriots defense. They have nobody, and they still end up being a top 3 defense every year. So
There you go. That's
it's
great.
all about their scheme up there.
The no-name defense.
All right, friends. For the Barrel Buddies, I'm James
Zach.
and Chris. And
Chris
join us.
Conrad.
Hey, in a couple weeks, we're going to do another one of these. I'm digging this. This is a great little fantasy update.
And I'd like to try to get some of the other team owners in here. I know we're in Las Vegas,
so
but
here's
we'll
the
get
thing.
them somehow.
Okay, so here's the thing. We, if you're a Barrel Buddies fan, we just got some new streaming software here. But what it's known for is like FaceTiming, like picture-in-picture. So we can throw a little FaceTime up here. We can get some people on the show. We'll do little chit-chats. Looking forward to it. So that's going to be a good time.
Join us on Patreon. Go to Twitter. Follow us at Yard of War. Follow the Las Vegas action.
And what platforms are you on? Twitter, Instagram?
Twitter, all of them.
All of them. All right, there you guys go. So, all right, guys, we appreciate
follow
you
Yard
all.
of War on YouTube as well.
Follow Yard, Y-A-R-D.
Each team manager is doing a 10 things to help you in your draft video on YouTube as well.
And that's the thing, right? Like, I remember when I first got into fantasy, it was just about quantity, right? I was just like, join this. All my friends were like, hey, do you want to join the league? Sure.
And you kind of had to learn on your
20
own,
there,
too.
50 there, 100 there, 1,000 there.
We'll talk about that
fantasy,
later. Fantasy back then, like you had to kind of learn on your own. You know, like unless you knew somebody that really understood.
So I got into an executive game at the Bellagio, and it was $1,000 buy-in.
Woo!
But I'm going to tell that story another day.
Did you win?
No.
Oh,
but I have some really good stories behind it, which I'll tell as we go through.
Heck yeah!
And
Yard
throughout the season, Yard of War, Las Vegas action. I know Phoenix Bulls has been communicating with me a lot as well, trying to do some joint adventures. So stay tuned with us. We'll have a lot of different.
They're a couple hours away.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we'll have a lot of fun adventure. Oh, by the way, we were going to be giving away a Yard of War / Barrel Buddies t-shirt.
Sure.
One similar to this.
Okay. Well, we got them, and we'll do that on the Twitters or the social media. We'll figure that out.
Sounds good. Yep.
Cool.
They know who they are, who's eligible. So.
Yeah. Right on.
And I will post it up as soon as we end this and post this up. So.
All right. Great. For the Barrel Buddies